In this how-to, we are going to learn how to use transactions in ATO.NET. Now, before we proceed further, let's try to understand what is transaction. Transaction is a mechanism to guarantee that failing execution of one SQL statement in the group of SQL statements, rollback changes made by other successful statements as well. Okay. So in this approach, what happens is either all the SQL statements execute successfully or none of them execute successfully. So for that, what we are going to do is that we are going to create one sample form here on my ASPX page. So here is the code for the sample form. Now here what is happening is that I have a HTML table. In that we have a txt first name, txt last name, txt age, and then drop active. It means that we have a drop down there are two items are there, yes and no, and then we have a control file upload control that helps us to upload the file in the database. And then we have a button called submit, and on click of the button we are going to execute a server-side method called submit data. Now here my purpose is that in my database called demo database, I have two tables. One is personal detail. You can see that auto ID, first name, last name, age and active. These many columns are there, and I am going to enter them using this first, second, third and fourth field. And we have again file upload control, and I am going to use this to upload the data for this particular files table where file name, file content, active and personal detail ID is there. So this is what my purpose is. When we are going to insert data into both the table, and if while processing the second table, means while inserting the data into the second table, if any error is occurring, then even the first table data should be rolled back. Means even the first table record should not be inserted into the database. So let me show you how to do that. So first let us create the code behind for this particular page. So I have a underscore constr page label variable. So here is my page label variable underscore constr, and this is basically retrieving the database connection string that is being stored into the web.config file. So here is the constr, and that is being retrieved and saved into underscore constr variable. And then we have submit data method. So let me show you that submit data method here as well. So this is the submit data method. This is a little long method. I'm going to cover all of them, what is inside this method. I'm going to describe line by line, so please do not worry about this. Let me correct the code that was written here. Okay, and then here we have this and this. That's it. I hope it is fine now. Yes, it is okay. Now what will happen is that when this submit button will be clicked, then submit data server side event will fire. And in the submit data server side event, what we are doing is that we are instantiating this SQL connection object by passing the database connection string, and then we are opening the connection because we are going to use here transaction object. So before we use the transaction, our database connection should be open. So that's why we are opening the connection here, and then we are calling the begin transaction method of the connection object and storing that transaction into the SQL transaction variable. Okay, this is transaction is nothing but the object of the SQL transaction, and then we have kept try and catch block, and then finally block as well. Sorry, there is no finally here, only try and catch. We are not using finally because we are using block here. So as soon as the work of the transaction and SQL connection is done, the object will get disposed automatically, so we do not need to use finally here. So under the try block, what we are doing is that we have a insert statement, as you can see this, and it is trying to insert data into the personal detail table by passing first name, last name, age and active. And this first name, last name, age and active is coming from the field, the text boxes and the drop down we have on the ASPX page. As you can see here, txt first name, txt last name, txt age and then drop active. And what we are doing is that we are instantiating the SQL command by passing the insert statement of the personal detail and the database connection, and then to this particular command we are specifying the transaction. So the SQL command means the cmd.transaction is equal to the transaction that I have opened, the transaction that I had started or the begin here. So I have specified the transaction, and then what we are doing is that we are adding the parameters that we have in this insert statement into the SQL command, and then we are executing the we have called the execute non-query method. So what it will do, it will basically execute the insert statement that was specified into this particular command object. Now again, now we have done here one thing. Now another thing is left, and the another thing was to upload the file into the database. So now let us see the code to upload the file in the database. So for that, what we have done, we have first retrieved the file name that user has selected to upload. So here is and that we are storing into the file name variable, and then we have retrieved the content length of the file that is being stored, and then we have created an array of bytes and read the file content into this array of bytes, and my array of bytes variable is image bytes. So the file content is being read into the image bytes variable, and then what we have done is that we have again written the insert statement that will basically insert the record into the files database table. And because this insert statement, the second insert statement is accepting three parameters: file name, file content, and active, so we are naturally going to create again array of SQL parameters and specifying these three parameters for the three values into this parameter, and then we have instantiated the SQL command object, and then we have specified the connection, added the new parameter into it, and then again we have called the execute non-query method. Now in case the first select statement, in case the first insert statement and the second insert statement successfully executed, then we are calling the transaction.commit method. When we will call the transaction.commit method, at this time actually what will happen is that both the insert statement will take effect into the database. Okay, unless we have called the transaction.commit, even if we have called the execute non-query method, but it will not be get affected into the database because of this transaction. And then we have closed the connection, that's fine. And in case any error has occurred either into this or into the second insert statement, then what happens is this transaction.rollback method is called, and that actually rollback whatever statements we have executed or whatever command we have executed. So for example, in this case we have executed this command and this command, so both commands will be rolled back, or whatever effects that both has to do will not be done. So let me run this page and show you here. So before I run, let me just go ahead and see that how many records are there into the personal details table. So in the personal details we have 8 records, and in the files table we have none record. Fine. Now let me run this page. So here is my page. I'm going to run it. And I'm going to write some values into this text box. So for example, demo is the first name and transaction is the second name, and age is, I'm just writing anything as, and then file name I am selecting, for example, any file I can select here, so myfunda.png, and submit. When I call submit method, you will see that it is saying that file name must declare, because here in the second statement what we had done, we have written instead of file name we have written file name 1. So it means that this error is coming into the second statement, isn't it? See here, let me start debugging here. So I am now in the debugging mode, and let us execute these all codes one by one. So let me refresh this page again. Let me select any file again here, submit. Now it is coming one by one. Now you can see that in the first insert statement we do not have any problem, so it is executing successfully here. But while executing the second insert statement, what is happening is that it is throwing error, and then the transaction is getting rolled back. Now in normal scenario, if you not have used transaction, then first insert statement means here this would have made effect and this would have inserted one record into the first personal detail table. So let me show you here, but it will not basically insert any record here. You can see that still it is 8 record. Why? Because the second insert statement had thrown error and it has basically rolled back the transaction, so even the first insert statement will not get affected. Now let me correct this error and let me change this file name 1 from to file name. So earlier it was file name 1, now I have changed to file name. So now when I will run this page, it should execute successfully. So let me refresh this page, and we are here again. I'm just going step by step by pressing F10 key, and you can see that first is executed successfully, and even the second insert statement is also executing successfully, and the transaction has been committed successfully, and then database connection has been closed. Now I am getting the message record inserted successfully. Now when I will refresh the database here, you will see that one 9th record will be added. This is the 9th record, and even into this files table also one more record will be added here. You can see this IT fund has been added. So this is how we generally use the transaction. So in this kind of scenario where you have a financial transactions to be done and multiple insert or update statement is at a stake, and you wanted to make sure that if all statements have executed successfully, then only the actual effect should go into the database, otherwise not.